Another beautiful day of purity and innocence. I'm sure that we'll be able to come across something that will not be in any way dirty. And you know what? I'm I'm done. I'm done. I am done. I am done. YouTube can just go away. I am done. Oh god. Oh god. Well, it was bound to happen because, this was probably one of the funniest anime, considered one of the funniest anime in summer of 2015. And I saw it have a lot of popularity, and obviously I'm going to suck on that popularity's dick to try and get more subs. And of course I'm going to be trying to do this. Psh, of course. In all seriousness, Shimoneta, a boring world where dirty jokes don't exist. The reason why I kind of kept pushing this review away is because of shit like this, for example. And it's like, how do I do this review without putting up lewd stuff like this? Or this? And I promised myself, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Shit, I just did. Well, now that I got that awkwardness out of the way, let me just first bring up what Shimoneta is. A world where dirty jokes do not exist is first of all, it's a very perverted anime. When I first came across it, I was thinking, okay, this might be interesting. And then I had a whole bunch of all of my colleagues and my friends were just kind of bringing it up, and they were like, dude, this shit is funny. You need to watch this. And I'm just thinking to myself, so how is it funny? Like, is it some kind of innocent people, quote unquote innocent people, doing perverted things on accident or something? And then they're like, no, it's pretty much like that. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll try it. Then I tried it, and I don't know. I'm just going to say right now that I did not really enjoy this anime that much. It might have been the continuous redundancy of comical relief of this type. What do I mean by this type? I mean of perverted things. There was a certain redundancy of that in all of summer 2015. It might be because of that, and because I'm human, I can't take a whole bunch of the same thing. So it might be because of that I didn't thoroughly enjoy this anime. But it could also be a few other things. But I'm going to get on those. I'm going to leave those towards the end of the video. What I'm going to do right now is, as per usual, a synopsis of Shimoneta. The novel story is set 16 years after the law for public order and morals and healthy child raising banned coarse language in the country. Coarse language as in rude or rough, perverted stuff in that manner. Tanakichi Okuma enrolls in the country's leading elite public moral school and is soon invited into the anti-social organization SOX by its founder, Ayame Kajo. As a member blackmailed into joining by Ayame, Tanakichi ends up taking part in obscene acts of terrorism against the talented student council president, Anna, for whom Tanakichi has a crush. It's this kind of anime that makes me wonder if I should lose self-respect for just for the fact of watching it. Because for multiple reasons. The reason that I'm thinking of right now is because it's so lewd. It is so absolutely lewd. And I mean, Kajo, the girl that blackmails our main male character into her terrorist organization called SOX. Kajo, she's really, really, really lewd. And it's almost a little too lewd. It feels like the studio or the writers, I don't know whose fault it is, but it feels like that character is redundant. She just keeps spewing dirty jokes. And I understand that is part of her character, but at the same time, it's so redundant to the point where it's like, she's been doing this since she was little. How is she not? First of all, how is she not run out of jokes? First of all, for that, and then second of all, I would get pretty tired of dirty jokes. And I mean, not to say that I am lewd or perverted, but I am a healthy young guy. So of course I'm going to be able to come up with these kind of jokes. And some of them just didn't even make sense. Some of them just did not even make sense. But I digress. Her character, aside from the dirty jokes and whatnot, she's actually a pretty good character. And I thoroughly enjoyed the character development between her and Tanakichi and all the other characters that eventually interact with SOX. Now the next thing I want to bring up is Anna. Oh god. Why must I do this? Anna. I'm just gonna put this picture up. This is the same picture that you saw a little bit earlier in the video, but this picture, if I did not know the context or anything, I would say it's a pretty adorable picture. But after watching the anime, this picture is the stuff of nightmares. If you think I'm kidding, and if you're laughing right now, which you might be right now, you don't even know yet. You do not even know. That face is the stuff of nightmares. If I had a dream with that face looking at me, in whatever is going on, if I saw that face, I would think, oh my god, I am going to die tonight. And then I would wake up and be like, oh my god, thank you. Thank you for being a nightmare. Is this the real world? But seriously, Anna Nishimiya, you do not want to fuck with her. If Tanakichi is anywhere around you, and if you accidentally mess him up somehow, or if you purposefully mess him up, either way, Anna is going to fuck you up. She is your most unconventional yandere. She's so yandere. And if you guys don't know what yandere is, a yandere is a person who may or may not be mentally ill, but otherwise stalks the person that they love. And that's pretty much what Anna does. And I guess you can technically say that she's mentally ill, because she is super innocent. And if you see stuff like this, it's because she's so innocent. She doesn't even know what to call it other than love nectar. Oh my god, dude. It's so painful for me to say that. This is one of the reasons why I kept pushing this review back. It's so painful for me to have to get rid of all my restrictions of what to say, especially lewd stuff. But, all in all, Anna is kind of the innocent person. Tanakichi is trying to fit into this society of being completely innocent and having no dirty jokes or dirty mouth or whatnot, like a potty mouth, if you will. He's aspiring to do that because he came from a very low-ranked moral school. What does that mean? That means that because he's from there, he has a reputation of not being very moral, not being highly esteemed in the moral field. And then, of course, you have Ayame Kajo, who has fully grasped herself and her willingness to just spout so much perverted jokes, so many things that are perverted, etc., etc. And it's okay. That's a really interesting trio right there. But it doesn't stop there. But I am going to leave off there with the specific character descriptions. There are other characters that make me laugh pretty hard, and there are things that kind of breaks tropes, and it kind of makes you think, oh shit, well, it makes you think that Shimoneta might start up a few new trends coming around. I'm not going to say what specifically, because it would kind of spoil the story, what kind of trends would be now in. But in terms of characters, I'll just leave it at that with those three. Anna Nishiki no Miya, Tanekichi Okuma, and Ayame Kajo. Now, continuing on to the next thing that I would consider was pretty enjoyable about this anime. Now, I know I just got done saying that I got really agitated by Ayame Kajo's perverted jokes and whatnot, and how redundant it got after a while. However, I will don the title of a hypocrite in order to say this. I thoroughly enjoyed a world where, quote unquote, dirty jokes don't exist, unquote. Shimoneta had some really good jokes. I laughed here and there. They were pretty funny. There were just events that were so ridiculous and over the top. It was very obvious that the studio was having a lot of fun making this anime. And I'm not speaking of the story. I'm talking about the voice acting, the animation. It's like the animators. The voice actors and the animators obviously had a lot of fun doing this, because there are very few occasions where I can definitely say, okay, these guys didn't enjoy making this anime. They just did it to make the money, or they felt neutral about the story. And they felt neutral about the whole series, but they still animated it. You can tell when that happens. And then you can also tell when somebody thoroughly enjoys making something. Shimoneta is a case of that, because it's not top grade quality animation. It's not any of that stuff, but it definitely feels like there's some work put into it. There is some heart put into it, and I appreciate that. I enjoy anime that gives me that kind of a feeling, where I can tell that they enjoyed making this production. But aside from that, the jokes were there. They didn't really feel like they got old or they got redundant after a while, save Ayame's perverted jokes, save those. But everything else but those, they didn't really feel like they were redundant or anything. They just kind of were there, and I either enjoyed them or I didn't. It was pretty simple. It was pretty much as simple as that. Now, usually this is where I would go on to say how I enjoyed the last thing. But here's the thing. Those were the two only things that I really enjoyed about this anime. Those were the two only things. If you've seen my other videos, you're going to be thinking to yourself, oh shit. Because usually I have 3 good things to say and then 2 bad things to say. This time around, it's 2 good things to say and 3 bad things to say. The first and foremost thing is the story. I don't even know. It was very obvious. If they did not intend to have a story, I would not have mind. But they tried to have a story, and I don't know what the fuck they were trying to do. It felt really out of place, the story that is. It felt really out of place. In fact, it didn't even feel like there was a story. It felt like they were trying to paint a picture, but then they forgot the main object of the picture. Say you have a landscape, you have the fence, you have the little walkway, but you don't have the person. You don't have the thing that everybody's eyes are supposed to bring their attention to. It didn't have that main full force object right there to attract your attention while having all the pretty stuff. No, it just had all the pretty stuff. That's what it kind of felt like. The story really, really felt disconnected. It felt very disconnected, because there were bouts and places where it felt like the story was taking one direction, and then it just kind of stops, and then all of a sudden another story, well, not another story in particular, but it felt like another chapter of the story just began, just randomly, because there was no conclusion to this. I'm using hand gestures right now, but okay, imagine pathways right now, and I have my right hand leading down this one pathway, and then that's the first part of the story, and then it just kind of keeps going, and then it just kind of disappears. And I don't mean disappear. You can still see that there's supposed to be something more down the road, but it just kind of stops. Like, it tells you to go to the next pathway. So you change to the other pathway, and then all of a sudden it's a totally different story. And you're just like, well, I want to know what was going to be at the end of that road. And then the story is just like, no, fuck you. We're going to do this now. You're going to just ignore that completely, okay? Until we get back to it at relatively towards the end of the anime. And it's like, oh, okay. And I didn't like the disconnected, disharmonious vibe that I had from the story. And again, just to reiterate, if they had not intended for a story to actually occur, it was supposed to be all just shits and giggles, okay, that I would not have brought up the story. But it was very obvious that they were trying to. The second thing I did not like. There's a girl, or rather there's a character, that shows up about halfway through the series. And it kind of ties into the first reason why I disliked this anime. But the second thing is kind of different from it. Because it's just a character, and it felt like here, we are now producing a character out of thin air to drive a story. And it's like, oh, okay. So we follow this character story. Like, this story with the character now on board with it, with them, with the trio, with the main characters now. And then I just kind of felt like all of a sudden it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is going to be very hard to explain without spoiling. But kind of like what I did in the last review that I just did. She has an issue about this thing, and then she tries to resolve this thing by doing something else. And then it kind of backfires on her in that IMA is like, no, you're not supposed to do that something else. This guy was doing the right thing by doing this thing. And then the girl gets all pissed because she's like, well, I did this thing. Why is he getting the credit for doing this thing, even though this was supposed to help? And it felt like the thing that she had, like, as an attribute, her jealousy, I'll say that much, her jealousy, just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And it disappears for a while. And I shit you not, dude. The last couple of episodes of the quote-unquote story, it just kind of, I'm like, oh shit, that's right, she was jealous. Like, you just totally forget about it. And then it comes back, and you're like, oh yeah, huh. Wait a minute, then what the fuck? What the fuck? And it felt like she was literally there just to produce the story, because she becomes part of the major conflict that occurs about 3/4 of the way into the anime. And it's like, her motives makes no sense, and the attributes that she was given just makes no sense at the moment. And unless I'm missing something, it really felt like she was really just there just to try and complete the painting of the story. But in attempting to do so, and also failing, by the way, an attempt to do so also lacking in her own character attributes and making her something, a character that I can actually be like, okay, yeah, I can relate to you, or I can like you as a character. Because it's not even so much now whether I like her or not. It's more, she's not even a realistic character. She's not even a reasonable character. She's just there for the sake of being there. The third thing that I have an issue with for this whole anime, Shimoneta, A Boring World Where Dirty Jokes Don't Exist. The third thing that I have an issue with is them trying to cover up the first two things. The red herring of Anna. What do I mean by this? They put so much effort. Into creating the scenes where Anna goes batshit crazy and just absolutely wants Okuma so bad. And if you don't even know this by now, this is a huge internet sensation. It was at least a huge internet sensation for the last few weeks, seeing a whole bunch of GIFs of Anna going batshit crazy. And it's just like, holy fuck, okay, cool. And that was kind of what got me to actually watch Shimoneta. There was 6 or 7 episodes in before I even started watching. And I feel like because I came in a bit later, I got to see episode 1 through however many were already out. And I got to see continually just how repetitive it was that they brought in Anna. And I was thinking to myself in the last few weeks now, why? I mean, it's obvious that they were trying to capitalize on like fan service for having Anna there. It was very obvious that that was what they were trying to do. But then in the back of my mind, something was telling me that that wasn't the only reason. And then as I listed off these 2 reasons that I just gave you, the story and that particular character that I'm not going to actually explicitly name, those 2 reasons, when I thought of those, I remembered, well, wait a minute. You don't really think about those 2. And then Anna. Like, what I mean is that you think of Anna, but you don't think of the other 2. That is why I call it a red herring. It distracts you from the whole missing fallacies that there is. And it really upsets me because I feel like the studio really knew that this was going to happen. Like, they knew that these 2 things that they had that were very, very lacking. And because they're kind of interconnected, they were like, okay, well, we can just patch up this hole by distracting our fan base with Anna, and then we'll be good. And obviously it succeeded because a lot of people really liked it. I mean, ratings were 73 out of 100. Like, that was the average score on AniChart for this anime. And that's pretty good. I, myself, however, I noticed the Anna red herring. And I noticed, because there's a lot of scenes. There are a shitload of scenes with Anna going batshit crazy over Okuma. Like, you probably saw already a couple of pictures showing you when she goes batshit crazy. And, like, the first pictures you saw, she went batshit crazy. And it's like, well, fuck. If you really think about it, there's a shitload of these. Like, hell, there's a whole episode. I can guarantee you there's enough Anna scenes that can make up an entire episode, maybe even 2. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but you gotta think about this. This was a 12-episode run series, and an entire episode could be filled with just one type of scene. This is what people would call a filler. This is what people call filler episodes. Just one scene of the exact same thing. Basically one scene of the exact same thing. Anna going batshit crazy. And in fact, I wouldn't even say it's just one episode. I would dare say that there were enough of these scenes from when it first starts to the very end of the anime. I can almost guarantee you that there were probably a total of 2 episodes worth of these kind of scenes. And they were enjoyable. But at the same time, it's just enough for us to be a little bit distracted from actually paying attention to the story. Because who actually paid attention to the story of this anime? If you paid attention to this story, I want you to comment down below and actually tell me what the story was. Because I can guarantee you that about 1 out of 4 of you guys will maybe do that. Maybe succeed in doing that. Or if you don't want to bother doing that, then I suggest rewatching. If you have already seen this anime, I suggest rewatching this anime to see what I am talking about. Completely ignore the Anna scenes. Completely ignore them and actually watch the story. You start to kind of realize, wait a minute, what the fuck? What is this? And so ends my ramblings of Shimoneta, a boring world where dirty jokes don't exist. Now, I casted a very ominous atmosphere over this whole review by saying that I had only 2 good things to say and 3 bad things to say. And as such, the rating is going to reflect that. 5 out of 10. In my opinion, this was the worst comedy out of all the ones that I saw in summer 2015. Not even because of the comedy. Not even because of the characters, except one. But because of those 3 things that I mentioned, the red herring of Anna and her going batshit crazy over Okuma-kun, and that red herring trying to patch up the other 2 fallacies that I noticed, not even critically analyzing the anime, just thinking off the top of my head after watching it and then just looking back at it and thinking, well, wait a minute. What the fuck? There's these two massive gashing holes in the wall, and nobody's noticing this? Nobody's noticing this? Come on. Like, not even... It's like right there. It's fucking right there. It's not even covered. It's not even somewhere in the painting where it's like, oh, there's a miscolor. No, it's like fucking... It's like 3/4 of the fucking painting is perfect, but then there's like a quarter of it that's just like, what the fuck? It's like right in the middle of the painting too. It's not even off in the corner, or it's not even spread out. It's just condensed right there. And then the artist literally just threw paint onto that area and just said, yes, this is what we tried to succeed in doing. This is modern art. It's supposed to symbolize some bullshit that we want to spew out in an attempt to say, yes, this is the best we could have done, which is not the case. 5 out of 10. I liked the characters, the dynamicness, the tropes that are now going to come into play. I liked the jokes. They were funny. And I liked the anime for the comedy that it presented. It was very enjoyable. However, I do not appreciate the story itself. I do not appreciate that they actually tried to make a story, but then ended up falling very, very short on it. I dislike also that they had a character created, literally, you hear that? Just on a snap. Bam. A character that can drive the story that is very half-baked. We can drive a story now and create the story by this character. And we're not going to do anything to that character other than make her a little bit fleshed out, so it's kind of like we can see her as the bad guy, or we can just, so they can actually do something and nobody's going to be like, objection, she had no reason to do this. No, it's more like now it's just like, oh, yeah, I mean, she's jealous, so of course she's going to do this, right? Okay. And then, of course, the red herring to try and cover up the gashing hole in the wall by these two fallacies. The red herring of Anna. That's all I'm going to say about Shimoneta. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, or if you didn't enjoy this video, please let me know why. If you liked this video, please leave a like. If you didn't agree with what I had to say, then go ahead and dislike it. I don't really care. That way you can tell me that you didn't like it. But yeah, all in all, just if you want to give your opinion about this anime, please let me know in the comment below. Or if you have any more questions about the anime, also comment below, and I will be sure to respond to you guys. Please subscribe if, and only if, you want to see more reviews that are like in this style, where I have 5 points that I bring up about the anime, and they can either all be good, all be bad, or a mixture of both. And then, of course, I leave a rating at the very end. And so, folks, I hope you guys don't live in a boring world where dirty jokes don't exist. I sure hope you guys don't, because that would be hell. And even if you do exist in that world, become the new SOX. Anyways, hopefully I'll see you guys again. Somehow, somewhere. I'll see you guys soon.